Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef live from Wagner's Lanes in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. We've been doing it for 63 episodes on our 64th now, and really excited to be here at a place with 70 years of bowling history in western Wisconsin, the area that we refer to as the Chippewa Valley of Wisconsin. And it is, I'll give you a little lay of the land. It's 26 lanes here, and on the eastern side of the city. At one time, it was as many as 66 lanes, but as many bowling communities have seen, times change and circumstances change. About maybe 20, 25 years ago, they cut it down to 26 lanes, sold off part of the building, which became some other businesses. But the 26 side remains. We've got a couple leagues behind us tonight and ready to go with a new episode of Bowling with the Fef for you. Want to give a quick shout out to everyone I ran into over the weekend at the Wisconsin State USBC Open Championships. Friends from the Wisconsin Collegiate Bowling Conference from years gone by and plenty of others, and especially the Fishman, Scott Schweiker, who came out, watched our team bowl at the minor events at Ashwaubenon Bowling Center, and hadn't seen him in a good 20 years or so. It's kind of an up and down tournament for me, but that's how it goes sometimes. But a great time for all of us who made the trip out to Green Bay. And if you're going out there too, best of luck. The tournament, I believe, runs until about May, so plenty of opportunity for folks to get out there and compete at the Wisconsin State USBC Open Championships. Well, our show, if you've seen it at all, is brought to you by Chip Magnet Salsa. Chip Magnet is a family business right here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, distributing quality salsas, relishes, and more to stores in 38 states and Canada. If you're in the Eau Claire area, you can find it at places like Festival Foods, Woodman's, Target, Eau Claire Cheese and Deli, basically anywhere quality foods are sold. And if it's not in your neighborhood store, be sure to ask for it by name or order today at chipmagnetsalsa.com. You see the address right there on the screen. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. So as you know, we are live here at Wagner's Lanes in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, the home of not only lots of bowling in the Chippewa Valley, but also the Skor-Mor Pro Shop. And the Pro Shop operator, Jerry Holldorf, is our guest tonight. And Jerry has been a tournament competitor, a Pro Shop operator, coach for many, many years in this area. And there he is, right here with me live. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
That's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. I want to start out by talking about the CBA, because that's a tournament that you've bowled over the years and bowled again this past weekend at a cash spot, which is great. It was on a pretty difficult pattern. Tell us about how the experience went for you.
Well, it was a difficult pattern. The U.S. Open, well, anytime you say U.S. Open, that's a difficult pattern, but it was a 2019 U.S. Open. Shorter pattern, 37 feet. So trying to keep your angles in front of you, and the break points are right around the 6 board, 7 board, something like that. Trying to keep the ball rolling forward off your hand. If you turned it at all, it wanted to go dead left right away. So you're trying to get the ball to roll forward just to get it to go down the lane and not jump off the back end, just trying to control the shot as much as you could. Most of the people were using urethane. It looked like a Purple Hammer Open. I didn't use one of those. Mine was a Rotogrip UC3, which I drilled a couple weeks ago, and I think is a fantastic bowling ball. So I used that the whole day.
Yeah. 8 games of qualifying?
Yes.
Okay. You've bowled those off and on for years and years and years.
Yeah.
How has that tournament changed or even remained the same in the years that you've done?
Years ago when I started bowling them in the 80s and 90s, the shots were more kind of like modified house shots. It didn't have all these what I call trick shots where they're trying to come up with what's the hardest condition we can throw out there today sometimes. And a lot of times the theory was good, but the shot just didn't fit the lane topography, and sometimes it turned into a disaster. Now I've seen where they've figured out how to put shots out that are tough but fit the lane topography themselves so that at least it will play according to the way it was meant to play. Yes, it's tough, but it doesn't turn into something totally unplayable.
Sure. A lot of people around the community, the bowling community in the Twin Cities and beyond, kind of think of that as kind of the step before PBA regionals or even the national tour. Would you say the competition is along those lines?
Yeah, there's probably, I'd say 15 guys, maybe 20, that I think would do okay as far as regionals. There's probably 3 or 4 or 5 guys that I think could do okay as far as touring pros. You don't know until they get out there and do it, of course. There are some that do some regionals and some that are PBA members. But it takes a lot of time. If you have a very good job at home, you're not going to just trash anything. Well, I'm going to go turn pro. No, that's a very hard road. You have to be on the road for weeks at a time. And from what I've heard, it's a lonely life.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the money isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Right.
Yeah. Your top bowlers make all the money.
Yeah. How often would you say these days your bowling tournaments?
Now I just started bowling in, I think November was my first one. First senior tournament since probably 8-10 years ago. And then I bowled 2 CBAs and 3 senior CBAs since then. So I bowled more in the last 2 months than I have in the last 10 years. So I'm kind of, the first time back was more of a, can I do it for 8 games? The second one back was, okay, I found out I could do it. Now, can I be serious for 8 games? That was the biggest thing, because I didn't know if my legs were going to hold up. That was the thing I was worried about the most, is would I have to quit after 4 or 5 games? But I made it through, and then gradually it was more of the physical thing was fine, and then now I had to attack the mental part.
Sure.
Because it just, like this last weekend, that is the most grueling. On my way to the tournament, I said, this is going to be tough. And if you don't concentrate on every single shot, you have no chance. So I was surprised that even at the last game was one of my better games after 7 games. To bowl the 8th game to shoot a 220, I was very satisfied with it.
Would you say it's tougher physically or mentally when you have a long format like that for you right now?
I would say it's kind of tougher. For me, it's tougher physically because I have to make sure that I don't overdo it or I'll burn out before I get there. So I have to make sure I pace myself on every shot and then don't overthink it. Just keep it simple and rely on my technique to get me through.
Yeah. So easier said than done sometimes, but
it is. When fatigue sets in, you start reverting back to bad habits where you say, okay, you fall off shots. You don't finish a shot off. You just have to remind yourself that, After you throw a bad shot, it's not the end of the world. Just see if you can make the next shot a good one.
Yeah, for sure. You didn't get to the point where you were bowling CBAs and MSCs overnight. So let's kind of take it back to the beginning. When did you start? What were the circumstances? Where did you start? I mean, you're from this area originally, right?
No,
No?
I'm not from here, but I'm from Glenwood City originally.
Glenwood City.
Yes.
Okay.
So my interest started in high school, which we didn't have high school bowling then. It was just Phi Ed class. We went down to they took us down to the bowling alley. And, you have your jocks in your class who think they're always great at everything. Well, I found that I could beat them at bowling. I couldn't beat them at basketball or football or baseball, but I could beat them at bowling. And that just piqued my interest. Well, there was nothing really. It was years before I really got interested in the bowling. It was probably in my mid-20s when a new owner bought the lanes, and I said, I'll work for you on the weekends tending bar if you give me free bowling. And that was my payment. So for him, it was, hey, I don't have to pay this guy. So I could just come in and bowl whenever I wanted to. And then I just kept, what got me going was I just started picking little fights. I want to be the best bowler on the team. I want to be the best bowler in the league. And then when I accomplished that, I said, okay, I want to go to another city and I want to be the best bowler there. And I just kept grinding and grinding. I mean, I became a pin setter mechanic, which opened the door for me to bowl more. So, when I went to, after work, tending bar in Glenwood City, taking care of the lanes too a little bit. Then I went to Menominee, was a pin setter mechanic. I used to close up at night and I would bowl for 2, 3, 4 hours. Close up at 1 o'clock in the morning and go home at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I just bowl.
Yeah. That whole free bowling was my payment thing is actually what Dale Traver described to us too.
Oh, okay.
In the Milwaukee area. So, maybe there's some secret sauce in there. But
yeah.
When you're in a town the size of Glenwood City, and for perspective, Glenwood City's between here and Minneapolis, a few thousand people maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Is there kind of a limit to how good you can get or how well you can compete? Or do you need to branch out to a bigger center or better competition in bigger cities?
Yeah, there's a limit. Because you always have to find, if you get to a certain level and you want to go on, you have to go find something else. If you want to take another step, you have to find somebody else to pick your interest, to get you wanting to go to the next step. It's just like anybody that's in any sport, well, even in a job, you go, if you get bored with the job, then why are you there? Then it's a job. You really want to make it become more than a job, something that you want to, you get up in the morning and say, I can't wait to get there. And if that's the attitude you have, you can, I think you can accomplish that.
Yeah, for sure. Were there coaches that helped you along your way, or did you kind of learn on your own?
No coaches. Everything was, I'd watch and I'd try to learn. I'd try things. If it didn't work, I said, okay, this doesn't work. So I'd try something else, and I'd try something else. And I would watch other bowlers say, why is he so much better than me? What is he doing that I'm not doing? And then I would sometimes try to copy it. I used to watch when I was a kid, I used to watch pro bowling on TV every Saturday and then go down to the bowling alley and try to copy the bowler.
Yeah. Who was your favorite?
Oh, I didn't have a favorite. It was whoever was on TV that day. What made him get there and not this other guy? Why did this guy win? Why did this guy lose? It's just always, what was the hidden secret?
Sure. was there a point where you decided, okay, I'm confident enough or good enough to either start competing in a league setting, in tournaments?
League setting was more of a what can my score be? Then when it became tournaments, it was more of how can I beat that guy right there? And I think it goes back to when I was in high school. People said, you suck, when I was in any sports. And every time I failed at something, especially in bowling, I would tell myself, okay, you suck. Do something about it. Because you can, go and bowl and get beat and come back the next week and get beat again, and it's going to be the same thing if you don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Do something different. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, you tried something and it worked.
Sure. A guy you are familiar with, Max Grabara, just threw a comment in here. He wants to know, how do you not overthink when bowling? He says he did that just this last weekend. He was doubles partners with me at state. But that's an interesting question, because I feel like a lot of us, no matter what our skill level is, it's so much easier to try and overanalyze everything than just kind of let it flow.
It's, for me, it's when I get in a pressure situation, I go back to basics. How do I feel throwing the ball? Like when I throw a ball, I feel the ball all the way through my backswing. I feel it when it comes forward. If it's right, I'll feel it. Then I know, okay, this one's going to be a strike. If it's wrong, I want to know what I did wrong. And just acknowledge it, then I go back to the basics. Every time I've gotten in a pressure situation, whether it's I need 1 in the 10th frame to beat somebody or something, it's always, my mind just automatically goes back to what I feel, let it happen. You've already done it, do it again. Just do it again. And then I react to whatever happens. If I throw it good and the ball does what it's supposed to, then I'm fine. If I throw it good and the ball makes a jump, okay, I need to do something a little bit. I need to move or change a hand position or something like that. Or change balls.
Yeah.
But I try to keep it simple.
Is that concept of keeping it simple something that, again, you were able to teach yourself or learn through someone else?
I taught myself. Every time I do something stupid, what I call stupid. Most people wouldn't call it stupid. When I throw a ball and I do what I call something stupid, I chastise myself. I mean, you don't hear it, but I am swearing.
Yeah. Sure.
It's just, and then I just get over that. It's just my 1 second of getting mad, and then it's okay. Here's what we need to do. That's all you have to do. You can't make a mistake and just, either just say, well, big deal, or let it boil. You just have to say, okay, this happened. Now let it go. Move on to you've got a spare. Because usually when you screw up, it's on the first ball. Now you have a spare to pick up. When you go to grab that spare ball, make sure your concentration is on that shot right there. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter what you did, doesn't matter what you're going to do. It's what you're going to do right there.
Short memory.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell me about when you started in league and tournaments and things like that. Do you remember who you teamed up with to start that up, or?
I didn't really team up with anybody. I mean, some people I did team up with. I know a guy in Menominee, John Hugley. I remember him calling me, or somebody told him that he was looking for a bowler to go to nationals, and I think it was in '79 to go to Tampa Bay to the nationals. And I said, nationals, what's that? And they said, well, you go down there and you bowl in this team singles and doubles. And I said, well, I don't have much money, but I'm in. So that was my start to to go to those, and then to gradually bowl in some match game tournaments. But he kind of got me started in the team, going to nationals.
When you mentioned that match game environment, is that mostly in Minnesota then, or were there opportunities here?
At that time, there was quite a few more opportunities. Like in trying to think back, like in the mid '80s, there was some tournaments in match play tournaments in lacrosse, single ones that had just started again, because they used to have them, I guess, back in the early '70s that were pretty big, or mid '70s, something like that. Guys like Dick Werlein used to go to, and Mark McCann, and I don't know of anybody else. I can't think of the other names offhand. But then they started up, and I went down there. I remember going down there for the first time, and I think I cashed. First time to cash in a match play tournament, and I was so happy. I had to drink a few beers. So that was, for me, that was a real highlight. I didn't win, but I got a taste of getting some money, and then just tried to bowl some more tournaments. And I think the biggest thing was when I met my wife. For some reason, I seemed to do better in tournaments at that time. I started to do good. I don't know if my concentration got better or what it was, but started to win some more tournaments.
Yeah. You talked about the great feeling of cashing. I remember you telling me at one point, and in the spirit of transparency, let me mention that he's drilled my bowling balls for 16 years now. You telling me that when you go to a tournament, it's a business trip. It's not so much about, just having a good time. If you want to compete, you've got to treat it like business because it's costing you money.
Yes.
Did that take a while to become ingrained in you?
Once I knew I could compete, and I kept getting, I'd get a cash here or there, or make a step ladder final or something like that. It was, yes, every time I went there with the idea, I'm going to cash. I want to make the step ladder final. I want to make the qualifying, and I want to make the step ladder finals. Now, there was a period of a couple of years where if I had just a cash, I was disappointed. I expected to make the qualifying, and in a way, for some of the tournaments, I expected to make the step ladder finals. So, and it was just attitude. People, I think maybe some people thought I rubbed it the wrong way, but hey, look, we're here to bowl and make some money. That's all there is to it. You want to beat me, I want to beat you. That's it.
Yeah. Again, going back to my interview with Dale and his team, they talked about his uncanny, attitude about we can beat anybody in here. Second place is not good enough. I've heard the same thing about Mike. Words. Mike is going to, he's going to do whatever it takes because winning is his thing. Second place is not good enough.
Right.
How does that? How do you get there?
Oh, well, that's a good question.
Because let me tell you, not everybody is there, right?
It's once you get to a certain point, and Mike and I talked about it a couple of times. It's not so much we want to win it; it's we don't want to lose it. It's a fear of losing. You got it. I guess you hate losing more than you like winning.
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds weird or not, but
No.
it just leaves a bitter. You had your chance, and you blew it.
Yeah.
So that kind of sticks to you sometimes.
Sure. I want to get to Mike because I asked him about, about your game, about the pro shop, about ball drilling, things like that. He mentioned that, he's drilled all of, you've drilled all his stuff through the years. And he said that you're really good because you're a tournament bowler and a good one. He said that he has won the most money in tournaments in this area through the years, but that you are easily second. You've won a lot of tournaments through the years, and that means that you understand what conditions are out there, which gives you the understanding on how to build a tournament arsenal. So, you've been in the sport kind of like I have through these changes in equipment, and what it takes to compete is different when I started versus in the 90s when reactive equipment comes out and the evolution through there. How does competing in tournaments then translate to being a good pro shop operator, being a good ball driller, and even a good coach?
Well, one thing I noticed, and I've been out, I think it's been since 2012, I've been out of the tournament scene. And now that I'm back in it, I've noticed that it is totally different. It's nowhere near the way it was when I left it. And it's kind of hard to explain it. Just that the lane conditions that they're putting out there for these match play tournaments is just, they are so different. And you can't go there with, okay, I'm going to go there with four bowling balls. Yeah, you're going to go there, you're going to donate, because it's like this last weekend. I went there over the weekend. I went there with 8 bowling balls. One of them's a plastic ball, of course. Don't go anywhere without a plastic ball. That's rule number 1. Those 8 bowling balls, I only used 1 out of the 8 other than my plastic ball, because the condition just never, it started out as a tough condition and I couldn't go to anything that gave me any movement on the lane at all. I had to just stay as cautious and as straight as I could and hope that the ball would carry. Because if I tried to do anything different, like use a more aggressive bowling ball, it just jumped. And I think, and the biggest thing that helped me was that I feel now with the lane conditions the way they are, if you don't know how to put forward roll on the ball, you can forget it. Because if you're putting side turn on the ball on these shots, that the ball just will not do what you want it to do. It either hooks way too much or it won't hook at all. And you're just scratching your head. You're saying, well, I threw that ball great. Why didn't it do this? Because it was the roll you put on the ball.
When did you start getting into the pro shop business, learning how to drill bowling balls, things like that?
I think it was like in mid 80s. I want to say like 86, 87, something like that. A friend of mine, Dan Schwartz, who was from Menominee, he was in Barron at the time, and he had the drilling stuff. And I had worked with him a little bit and just listened to some of the ideas he had, and he gave me some pointers. And then one day he said, I've got this drilling stuff and I have no place to put it. And he said, would you like to buy it? And I said, sure, I'll dabble into it. And I just kept, working at it and trying different things, trying to figure out the craft, making many mistakes along the way that I didn't know were mistakes at the time. But after a while, I realized that, look, if you want to get better, you have to admit when you're wrong about something and question it. Just don't say, well, this is the way you do it. This is the way everybody else does it. That's not the way to do it. You always have to keep evolving. Otherwise, you're going to get lost. And it shows now with the way the game is nowadays, you have to stay on top of it. And there is no I don't know if I should say there is no right way, there is no wrong way. It's everybody that walks in the door is going to be different, and I get and I sometimes laugh and say, today was a good day because I learned something. I didn't know it yesterday, but I learned something new today, and it kind of makes it fun again. It's not boring.
Yeah. Was there a point, you said I was going to dabble in it? You've been dabbling for a while now.
Yeah.
was there a point when you said, this is something that I could do long term?
Yeah, I started. Well, we bought our house, and I started doing it in my basement as a sideline, and I was making a little bit of money. And when I started doing it, I just said, well, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make sure I don't have any debt. So every time I ordered some product, new balls or something, everything was COD. So I didn't. Then after a few years, I built a little nest egg in my checking account, and I was working in a factory, and then I got put on full-time weekend shift, 12-hour graveyard, and I did not see any way to get off there. So after 6 months of doing that, I said, I'm done. So Chuck Wagner and his brother Mark have the bowling alley at Chippewa in Chippewa Falls. So I went in there one day and I asked them, do you have a spot for me? And they said, we'll find a spot. So that's where I started.
And did they say that because they knew? Had you drilled for them? Had you drilled for people that you know, or was it just word of mouth?
Yeah, I had drilled a few balls for there, and they knew that I was really interested. And the other thing is, and when I went in there, I said, we kind of did it. I like to barter things, so I said, I will do the lane conditioning for my rent. So then they didn't have to worry about it, and I didn't have to worry about the rent. So we kind of scratch your back, I'll scratch yours. That's the way it went. So, and then I just kept, reading, trying things, making mistakes, trying to learn from my mistakes, and I think now in the last probably 4 or 5 years, or even the last 2 years, 3 years, I've learned a lot more now the more I understand things. I'm not opposed to trying something new, because if you just do the same thing over and over, it's like insanity. Expect different results. It's not going to happen. You have to evolve with the times, because it's different.
Sure. What's your favorite part about somebody who comes in? Maybe it's a customer who's been going to you for years. Maybe it's somebody new. You drill for them. You make a change in something they've already got, and they do well. Is that kind of the thing that gets you with the with the pro shop business, is seeing people succeed like that, or is there something else?
That's when you see in their face the light bulb goes on, then you've done a good job, because now they understand what's going on. And if you can make it easier by how you fit the ball, and then they can learn faster. It becomes automatic. But to see their, I guess the gratitude is for them to throw something, and then you see them turn around and they have a smile on their face, and okay, now you've kind of picked their interest, and they're going to have fun with the game.
Yeah. I mentioned about Mike Wirtz. You've drilled his stuff for a long time. When did you meet him? And tell me about that relationship with you guys.
I met him, I think it was in early 80s, I think it was. I bowled in league here. It was one of my stepping stones as I was going through. I bowled in Glenwood City. I bowled in Menominee. I wanted to, and every time I accomplished a goal in something, I wanted to go someplace else. So I started bowling here in Eau Claire because I heard there was really good bowlers here, and it was a tough condition. And they were right; it was a tough condition because I sucked at it. And I kind of met Mike a little bit. I mean, we didn't really, I don't know, socialize a lot, I guess. I'm trying to think back when I first kind of met him. It was just kind of a gradual relationship. But, the thing I noticed about Mike was his drive is second to none. I mean, there is nobody that I know of that's more competitive than he is. I mean, if you were bowling him for like his favorite thing is, here's a dime, beat me for it, and that's what it was, I'm sure. And I think he's just as competitive for a penny. But that's the way he was, and then we just gradually, I think we both had drives. My drive was a little different than his. Mine was, I hated to lose. His too is he hates to lose, but his drive is stronger than mine. But his talents is a little bit better than mine too. And then we started bowling some tournaments, and I'm trying to think. It just kind of grew a little bit, and then when I think it probably grew a little bit more when he was on a tournament team out of some guys out of Minnesota, and one year I had stopped going to nationals, and one year, I think it was 1998, about 2 weeks before they were ready to go to nationals, they needed a sub. So they asked me. I said, well, okay, yeah, I think I can go. And this was in Reno, Nevada. And little did I know what was going to happen out there. We got out there, and that was the year I took bowling with a bunch of guys that were all really good bowlers. And I have never done that before. So to me, I felt like I'm just a little guy. I'm just going to go out there and be quiet and throw. But I ended up taking fourth in all events out there that year, which was, phenomenal for me. Out of 70,000 bowlers, which would never happen in my wildest dreams. But so we just kind of grew from there, and then I worked for him in his vending business for some years, and and it's helped me in my bowling being around him because we can bounce ideas off each other, and it's been a growing friendship too.
Yeah. Would you say that fourth place finish in all events at the Open Championships is the pinnacle of your tournament career?
It is, and it's also the most disappointing because
Did you leave with the lead?
Yes, I left with the lead, but I think no. I did not leave with the lead. I was in fourth place when I left.
Okay.
But the thing that bothered me the most was missing 5 single pin spares when 3 of them would have put me in the lead. So that crosses my mind probably more than it should, because it was my only chance at an eagle, which would have been, that is what you go out there for. But I still think about it.
Yeah. How often did you end up going to nationals?
Oh, I think I went about 27 years, I think. Yeah, I think it's about 26, 27 years, something like that.
Okay. what is that experience like when you describe it to someone who's never been there? And this is kind of a self-fulfilling thing because I've never been there.
Right. Well, the first time you go there, it's big. Now, yes, they have the bowling stadium at Reno. They have the lanes. I forget what is it that they bowl at in Vegas? Is that
At South Point?
South Point? It's not. Those two places are not anything like it really used to be. It used to be you traveled to a new city every year. Like the first time I went was Tampa, Florida. You walk in this big convention center and there's 40 lanes or 50 lanes set up. And you're going, wow. And you go to Niagara Falls, big convention center. You go to Corpus Christi or where was another one? I'm trying to think of all the places I've been. Louisville, Baltimore.
Maybe Baton Rouge?
Baton Rouge. Then there was Mobile, Alabama, Tulsa, Wichita, which I didn't get to. I think there was one in Wichita. Tulsa, Albuquerque, New Mexico. There's so many great places. Billings, Montana. Niagara Falls, a couple of times there. It's not anything like it used to be. It used to be really, I thought, grand. I mean, it was a destination to me. Now it's kind of like lost the luster because you're just going to Reno, you're just going to Vegas, and then they throw one other one in there, which is nice. But I don't know. To me, it's kind of I miss the travel to different cities.
Yeah. To take from that experience of finishing so well at the Open Championships, and despite the disappointment, it's a learning experience, and you're still in the heart of when you're bowling CBAs and things like that. What did you do to create a positive that came out of that negative?
Out of that day, or out of that the positive is it was a great experience, and it was a tournament. You didn't win it. You could have won it, but you did. I guess you did. I did my best, but you missed the 3 single pin spares, which I guess there is no such thing as an easy spare, because I missed them. But at least I put myself in a position to win the tournament, even though I didn't win it. But I threw a lot of strikes. I did well. I did something that I never thought I'd do. So at least I gave myself a chance. And that's all what you ask for. When you go to other tournaments, it's, you want to compete well in tournaments. But I know in years back when I was up and coming, like in the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, my goal was every time I went to the tournament was to win the tournament. It wasn't to cash, it was to win. And I remember people laugh at some of the match play tournaments that I used to go to, where before I'd won my first one, people would say the tournament would be over and I wouldn't make the cut for the next day, and people would say, well, "Where's Jerry?" And he'd say, "He's halfway home already, and he's not very happy." So, and that's the way it was. I mean, all my energy was just put into that, and I wasn't happy until I won that first tournament. I wanted to win it. You have to have a drive to, did it consume me? To a point, at times it did. And now it's not, with age, you mellow a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it's still, I realized that when I bowled yesterday up in the cities that it was a very demanding shot, and I knew I wasn't going to win it going in, but at least I gave myself a chance to cash on something on a shot that is not my forte. I mean, it was not a shot that I liked. So just to get a cash was, I think, a victory.
Sure. Tell me about how you became a coach, because you look back and you're basically self-taught, but you've gained this wealth of experience from seeing, doing, competing, etc. Tell me about the point where you thought to yourself, okay, I've got enough up here that I can then impart that wisdom on other people and make them successful in what they do, not only with the pro shop side, but also with coaching.
Well, when I watch somebody bowl and I see them making just, I don't know if it's a simple mistake or just a mistake that I can see that it's just affecting their game. And if they just change one little thing, just try it, maybe they'll enjoy the game better. If they enjoy the game, a little more, have more fun, maybe they'll bowl more. Maybe they'll maybe bowl more tournaments. Maybe they'll be more interested in the game instead of just coming out and just throwing a ball, because there's much more to it than just throwing a ball. I mean, why not give it your best effort and see what happens? Maybe all it takes is just a simple hand position, or maybe it's something in your grip. It could be something really simple. Maybe it's something in your approach. It's just, you're just trying to pick their interest to see, they see the light bulb come on, see them, they'll throw a ball and say, that's what it feels like. And they'll smile. Well, now they're having fun. If they're having fun, they're going to bowl more.
Yeah, kind of grow the game little by little. Right? Yeah. You had a unique experience a few years ago with one of my teammates, Jim Lucas, who had to switch hands abruptly, really after he got back into it after a layoff. And I've got a video from him that I want to play, and I'll give you the transcript here so you're not reacting to this blind. But here's what he had to say when I asked him about you.
Hey, Fef, thanks for having me on. Let's talk about Jerry. Yeah, Jerry, the pro. Jerry drilled my first ball here in Eau Claire. When I first moved to Eau Claire 10, 11 years ago, I still used the same ball that was drilled back in Wausau. So never even got a new ball. Then I quit bowling for that 5 years. And when I first came back, Jerry, I went over, he was still at Bullwinkle's at that time. I went over and he had me throw 2 or 3 balls. And then he drilled my statement. It might have been my statement. He drilled that absolutely perfect. I mean, I'll tell you what, right-handed still at that time, and I shot 740 something, so it hit perfect. Then I cut my finger off. So Jerry helped me switch the mechanics, told me, lay the ball down, set it down, don't try to throw it too hard, don't do this. And the only thing Jerry's ever said, non-stop, slow down. He'll stand behind me when we're he'll be in the settee area and we'll be bowling. And I look up at him and you can still see his mouth move, slow down. So, Jerry's been such a help. I mean, I don't know if I'd be able to bowl left-handed without his and Sam's help. So I appreciate both of them immensely. And, I'm glad you were finally able to get Jerry on the show. Thanks, Jerry.
So Jim says so nonchalantly, and then I cut my finger off. But he's thrust into this situation where for decades he's bowled right-handed, and all of a sudden his only alternative is to try and learn left-handed from the start. How'd you go about, helping him out with that?
Well, the main thing is just staying with basics and just getting the approach down first, especially the footwork. Without the footwork, which is your base, nothing else is going to work. If you just run up there and are off balance, it doesn't matter if you're used to bowling right-handed or used to bowling left-handed. It's just not going to work. And just from watching him a little bit, I could tell at times when his footwork was off, and then it just threw everything off for him. So it's always, for bowling is a sport. It's just like any sport. Your footwork is the most important part, whether it be basketball, football, track, bowling, and especially in bowling when you're carrying this heavy object on one side of your body. I mean, you have to have good footwork or it's just not going to work. You know, it would be a constant battle. You fight gravity and you're going to lose every time.
I think for me, these past few years have really taught me the value of, you know, the lower part, your base, your foundation, your legs, your knees. You know, like you said, staying in balance. Is that something that, you know, that you've had to kind of learn and experience the hard way over the years? And has that become something that you've concentrated more on in your own game?
Yeah, I've always had to concentrate on it because I don't have a strong upper body. So if my footwork is not good, if I'm not getting the strength out of my legs, my game is going to suffer. I'll fall off, not throw good shots. And it really showed when after I had my hip replaced in, I think it was 2014, my left hip. When I came back, it was fine. You know, my footwork was fine. And then after 1 month, my leg started hurting and I couldn't bowl. I could not get the footwork down. And even now when I do bowl, I have to be careful that I don't overdo it with my left leg or the muscles just will collapse and not let me do what I want to do. And so, yeah, the footwork is just huge. You got to remember, you're walking up there with either a 16-pound, 15-pound, 14, 12-pound object, and you start swinging it, it becomes much heavier than what it is just in a static position. So, and then now you're putting all your weight on one leg for one shot, and you're creating, I think I read somewhere where it's like 400 foot-pounds of pressure on your hand when you release the ball because you have, and I could be wrong on that, but that's what I think I read. Well, that's a lot of pressure. So if you don't have your legs, you can't bowl consistently. I mean, without a base, you can't do it. And it doesn't matter what sport you're in. Without the base, you can't do it. You can't do a jump shot without a base. You can't tackle somebody without a base. You know, it's just so important.
Yeah, it's the leverage.
Yeah, leverage it's the key. You know, and there's a lot of people, like when I give lessons to people, usually the first questions I ask them is, if you're right-handed, do you have any leg problems in your left leg? Do you have knee problems, ankle problems, hip problems? If they say no, I say, good. Now we can work with something. If they say you do, now I say, okay, we have to work around it because without that left leg strength, you're not going to bowl well. We have to figure out a way to get around it.
Sure. Your shop, as you mentioned, was in Chippewa Falls at Ojibwa. Mm-hmm. It's been at Bullwinkle's in Eau Claire. Now it's at Wagner's in Eau Claire. How has that been, moving from place to place over the years? And it's not like you've been one place 1 year and one the next. It's been a number of years. But, you know, what's it been like to make those changes in, you know, if nothing else, just the venue of where you operate?
It's not really hard. I mean, when I started in Ojibwa, I wanted a place just to start the business. And I built the business up. And then I had a chance to come here at Wagner's when they still had the 66 lanes. And I really did want to expand the business to get more customers. So I came down here for a couple of years before they tore the lanes down, and it did help a lot. Then they tore the lanes down, ended up back at Chippewa full time, and then I had an opportunity to go over to Bullwinkle's and started there. So I was just trying to get, I guess, a place where I had more clientele, easier to reach more clientele. And I'm not a very good promoter. All I know how to do is just, I know how to drill balls, but the promotion part is not one of my big fortes, and I wish I had known more about promoting then. I probably could have maybe even stayed at Ojibwa and done even fairly well there, but I guess that's why I kind of moved around a little bit. The move from Bullwinkle's over here was kind of like just behind the scenes thing. They just kind of gave me a little bit better offer here, and it's nothing. There was nothing bad to say about Bullwinkle's. It was just a little bit better opportunity. It just fit what I wanted a little bit better. So that's how I ended up over here.
Last document I'll make you read, because I just want to get you the transcription in case you don't hear me. But Mike told me anybody can put 3 holes in a bowling ball, or 2 if you're two-handed, but unless you have actually bowled on and won tournaments on various conditions, just watching videos isn't going to cut it. And that's what separates you from anyone else in the area, and that Eau Claire is fortunate to have you here. I mean, to have a guy with the accolades that Mike has continue to use your services, say this kind of stuff about you, how does that make you feel?
That's hard to put into words. But I'm just lucky that I have somebody like Mike who I can bounce ideas off of, and who at times I hope can make him a better bowler, make it easier for him to accomplish things that he wants to do, and at the same time, help other bowlers accomplish what they want to do. It's just, I guess I take pride in doing the work the best that I can, and then hoping that the bowler achieves what they're trying to achieve, whether it be bowling a big series in league or winning a tournament. Sometimes I have to remind myself that not everybody wants to go out and be the best bowler in the world. It's your once a week bowler, he kind of looks at it more simply. He wants to go out and have a good night. And he wants to come and enjoy himself, but not turn it into a job. And I'm hoping that I can help him, achieve that, in an easier way, I guess.
Yeah. So let's kind of look ahead, pull out the crystal ball, I guess, if you will, and tell us, where you go from here. Are you going to continue doing tournaments? How much longer do you do the pro shop? How much longer do you do coaching?
The tournaments I think I'm starting to enjoy them again. If they become work, then I won't do it. But I think I tweaked my game a little bit to where I think I can compete against these younger players, and there's even the senior tournaments to bowl in, but bowling against the kids, and to be able to even beat some of the kids, that's kind of satisfying yet. I don't know how much longer I'll do this. I mean, it's like one guy asked me the other, several people have asked me and said, how long are you going to do this? I said, well, I may be done this year, or 5 years from now, we may be having the same conversation. So I have no idea. It's just when I get sick of it or I can't do it, I won't do it. But I don't know if I'll get sick of it. It's still, as long as I'm making it fun, as long as when I coach somebody, I can hopefully help them where we get done and say, yeah, this helps. Then I did my job. If I don't get enjoyment in that, then there's no reason to do it.
So many aspects of this sport are different now than they were when I started, when you started. The sport the way it is now, knowing that all those differences have taken place, do you still love it like you did in the early days?
I'm starting to love it again. When I couldn't do it, love was lead. I did not love it. I mean, it was frustrating because every time I would come back and try to bowl, my leg would start hurting, and I'd say, okay, you can't do it. So then I tried 14 pound. Well, my leg didn't hurt, but I couldn't strike with 14 pound. And it just, but then I'd leave it, and then I'd come back and say, let's try this. I said, well, that was better. And I tried again, and no, that don't. So it was more of a trial and error thing. And there was just one day I came out and tried something, and I said, I think you've got it. And I tried it the next day, and I came back with the same results. I think you've got it. So, and that was always the key. One day I would say, I think I got it. And the next day I come out and said, you ain't got it. So, just now I think I might be to the point where I might have turned the corner a little bit. So it's making it much more fun. What makes it hard is if you think you can do something, then you go out and you try it and it don't work. You say, I just wasted time. But when you go out there and you think this is going to work, and it works. Now we can work with it. Now it gets exciting again.
Yeah.
And it's just like in anything. It doesn't matter what you're doing. In your job, you try something and it doesn't work. Okay, the next day you come in and you try this. This works. All right. Then it's fun again.
Yeah, that sense of accomplishment, power almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a slew of comments here that I want to get through. So Max wants to know, what are your thoughts on the current league participation in Eau Claire and why it's dropped so much over the years?
Oh, that's a heck of a question. Boy, I don't know if there's any one thing. It's dropped a little bit. This COVID thing it killed it a little bit because we had leveled off. I thought the 2-3 years previous to COVID, I thought that the league participation had leveled off, and I thought that, okay, this is where it's going to sit, and it may start growing a little bit. But then COVID hit, and that drove a few people away. But I think it's going to sit here for a while. It might start to come back a little bit more. It's not going to be anywhere the way it was. There's no way. But I've noticed that I've had a lot more new customers coming in, and some of them are going to bowl league. Not a lot of them, because a lot of them are just coming in. It's something to do. they need something to do during the winter time, because there really isn't a whole lot. You can do some alternative things, but all of a sudden that gets, to go, like you want to do something alternative, you almost have to go someplace, and it's a big deal to get there. Where now you can say, gee, let's go bowling, maybe for an hour or 2 hours, and it might be a family thing, but I'm getting a lot more new bowlers coming in and getting stuff to bowl now, or especially with the two-handed craze, the no-thumb craze. That's a lot more kids are coming in, which is kind of fun to teach them. I'm not a two-handed bowler or a no-thumb bowler, but I've read enough articles, watched enough videos to know that I can get them at least started in the right direction, so that they at least know where the ball's going, and they can get some strikes and have a little fun at it. The two-handed bowling, whether people like it or not, it's here to stay. And it's not, I don't think it's detrimental to the game. I think it's something different. Now, and for instance, I was at this tournament on Sunday, and I looked around and I did not see a lot of two-handed bowlers. I saw some, but they didn't dominate it. It was your traditional bowlers that still dominated the game. So I think I think it's not as bad as what people think. Yeah, COVID really put a damper on it, but who knows? Maybe a lot of them are just being cautious yet. They just don't want to venture out. And we don't know what their health situation is. So I look around and I see, at night times in Wagner's here, I see the lanes full with open bowlers. So I think it's okay yet.
Yeah. Max wants to know about your thoughts on where leagues set the handicap. He says he feels it's a little bit too high.
No. I think a good handicap is based off. A good one is based off of, you can go off of your highest average bowler in the league. You can go off of 225 if you want. But I think 90% of the average, I think, is fine. I don't know how to put it. It's such a touchy subject for some people, but is
it fair to say that it can't really be one size fits all, can it?
No, it can't. I mean, about the only thing you could do, like if you really wanted to change the handicap system, I would say do it like golf. You bowl 10 nights, and after that, you start throwing out your worst ones. Like golf, that's what they do. I mean, you got 10 rounds of golf, and then after that, they start throwing out your worst ones, and your scores start coming down, and then you're not getting as big a handicap. Once you get established, it might be a lot more work, but it's a thought. I don't know what the problems would be with doing it, but that's one way you can do it. It would shave a few pins off. Yeah. But I don't think it's that big a deal, because you got to remember, we are trying to cultivate new bowlers, and sure, the first year they reap the benefits of having a lower average, but they're going to get better, and maybe you get a bowler who's going to, out of 5 people that come in, maybe you get one who really loves it. He's there for life. That's our goal. Not everybody's going to be, you're not going to get 10 bowlers come in and all 10 are going to stay. something's going to happen that they can't stand. Life happens.
Sure. Yeah, it does. Okay, Cedarvale guy who is Brent Prentice. Cedarvale, Minnesota says Jerry loved bowling with him. And he said every time that he bowled with you, near you at a CBA, it was a treat. Such a good bowler and a great person. I know Brent very well because we were high school teammates. But tell me about Brent and how you know him.
Well, I just know him from bowling in tournaments, the CBA tournaments with him. I do have to admit, one of the happiest guys I think I can remember. I don't ever remember him having a scowl on his face. It didn't matter. I could never tell if he was throwing a 150 game or a 300 game. He always seemed to have the same disposition. It was just, hey, let's have fun. That's kind of what I liked about him.
Remind me one of these days. I'll tell you some stories about when he had a scowl on his face. Max says salsa and pfeffer. He says, Jerry taught me to ask why. Why did I throw a bad shot? Why did the pins fall that way? Why am I throwing that line? Basics, basics, basics.
Yeah, it is. You leave a 10 pin. You have to ask why. Until you understand why you left it, you're going to keep leaving it. Because if you don't understand why you left it, you can't fix the problem. Because there's always a reason. You were never robbed. On a 10 pin, you're never robbed. I don't care what Randy Peterson says or Bo Burton or whatever, you were not robbed.
Right.
You did something different. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, got to fix it somehow.
Every time I leave one, I learn something. Why did I leave it? Okay, fix it.
Yep. This is EHO Music, and I don't know exactly who this is. You're going to have to tell me if you're still out there. Patient, humble, and realistic. A fantastic man, and I'm lucky enough to call him Dad. There you go. Mom and I love you and are so proud of everything you accomplished. That's got to feel good.
Yep. Didn't see that one coming. Yeah. It's been fun.
Yeah. Sam Lofquist says, thanks for the knowledge over the years and putting up with him. Is that a tough job to put up with him?
Well, he's left-handed. What can you say? No, it isn't a tough job. He is the quietest bowler I've ever seen. I don't think he's ever had a crossword to say or anything like that. Good bowler, tries to learn the game. Never see him lose his temper about anything. He throws the ball and just goes on from there.
Yeah.
So, it's you're gonna have to take a break.
Oh,
sorry.
That's all right. He'll be back.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Yeah. And Sam, of course, was one of our first guests, episode 1. He and Paul were on our show, kind of kicking things off. So he's got a special place in the history of this show for sure. Man, they're rolling in. Lots of people are watching. Max says, Jerry, you drilled his first ball ever. He wouldn't be the bowler that he is today without you. Thank you, Jerry.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's good stuff. Max also says he loves beating the young whippersnappers, as his dad would say, along the same lines that you were talking about CBAs. Trey Henriksmeyer says hello. He is quite a talent.
I think he's a special talent. He is, for someone his age, he's wise beyond his years. I'm impressed.
Yeah, 15 years old. He can really
Yes.
whack him from a lot of different angles.
I haven't seen him in tournaments, but he seems to have the right attitude.
Yeah, definitely. Nice kid, too. Tim Benavides says, you can beat anyone, Max. And Max, of course, says, yes, I can, Tim, if I roll my game. Trey says, hi, Brent. He knows him, too. And Tim also says it was a great time bowling nationals on Jerry's team for a couple of years. Mobile and Tulsa, he believes.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. Mobile, what a nightmare that was. Scoring-wise.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. As I told you before we went on, you know that we do this thing on the show called Off the Sheet. And that's where I ask you to challenge someone, maybe more than one, to be on a future episode. Someone who, may have a high skill level, may not, but really somebody who's passionate about the sport and has a unique story to tell. So, Jerry Holldorf, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Feth?
Well, I have 3.
Okay. Come a little closer to the microphone, by the way. I'm not sure if it's
I have 3 people. One is Rob Downer from Rochester. Very quiet guy. Very accomplished bowler. Mr. Consistency. I mean, that guy just keeps putting the ball right where he wants to put it. And I would like to see him on here. Todd Savoy from Superior, one of the top bowlers in the state. He's in the, I'm not sure if he's in the USBC Hall of Fame. I think he is.
So.
And I think he's in the Minnesota Hall of Fame, I think. I'm not sure if he's in the Wisconsin Hall of Fame. He is, for as good as he is, very humble. He has a lot of accomplishments, and I think sometimes you have to just pry it out of him to get him to tell you all his accomplishments. And then the last one would be Mike Words out of Eau Claire here. There is a guy who, in the game of bowling, and probably in any sport, I think he was fast pitch too. I have never seen anyone as competitive as he is in the game. And he is just he is the ultimate grinder. If he can figure out a way to get it done, he will. And he won't quit until he figures it out.
Yeah. So Rob, Todd, and Mike, that's a threesome I never want to have to compete against. If you're out there, if you're watching, and you're interested in taking Jerry up on this challenge, let me know. You can message me on Facebook or email bowlingwiththefeth@yahoo.com, and we would love to get you all on the schedule. Our next live stream is coming up in about a week. It's next Monday, February 28th. We have Mark London coming on, St. Cloud State standout, Motive staffer, pro shop operator, PBA regional champion, bowling writer, a bowler who wears many, many hats and wears them well. So be sure to join us. Jerry, do you know Mark London?
Who is it?
Mark London from Dubuque?
No.
Nope,
Don't know him.
So you'll have to watch so you can learn more about him.
Yep.
But thank you so much for being on. And let me help you with the promotion side. If anybody wants bowling ball services or accessories or anything like that, how do they find you?
Well, you can come into Wagner's. I'm here Monday through Friday. Or you can call me. I'm listed in the phone book. You can contact me at email at jerry.holldorf@gmail.com and contact me, and if you want to set something up, we'll set something up. It doesn't necessarily have to be the hours that I have set up. I can make exceptions. So.
And if you just think of it in passing, can't remember the email, let me know. I'll be the link. I'll be the go-between and get you to Jerry so you can talk bowling and pro shop services with him. Jerry, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for
I
having me.
appreciate it. And this has been a blast being in this live setting. So
Yeah.
glad we had the opportunity to do it. Everybody be just and fear not. Hope to see you again next Monday and have a great week.